Well, this video's sure to be loaded with popular opinions. Welcome back, King Cats. What we got today is the worst of the best. I'm going to tell you what I think are King's worst books. So it's going to go in descending order. It's going to go from 5 to 1. 5 is the best of the worst, in my opinion, and number 1 is the worst. But you got to understand that King is like pizza. There's no such thing as bad pizza. There's just like, there's pizza you like, oh, wow, that's the best. And then there's pizza like, yeah, it's pizza. I'm going to eat it. You know, it's like, yeah, it's there. I know, you know. And also, it's your expectations. All these books are bad in context. A couple of these are bad, in my opinion, because they didn't live up to where they sit in the King canon. They were supposed to do better than they did. So, I'll be getting to those. But first, we're going to check in with the Magic Duff Bucket. Magic Duff Bucket, what do you have for me apart from magic? A Galactic Cowboy? All right, it's an Imperial Stout. Galactic Cowboy. Well, that's kind of interesting because, you know, we got Roland represented in the list. Ooh, did I spoil it? Yeah, Roland makes an appearance in the bottom 5. Yes. Yes, wrap that around your brain. Roland is my favorite King character of all time ever. So I do kill my darlings. You know, that's a saying, a writer's saying or a Hollywood saying, kill your darlings. Means don't fall in love with your own creations to the point where you're losing vision, where you're focused on, but I like that line or that character or that passage. If it doesn't serve the story, you got to kill your darlings. So this is Galactic Cowboy from our friends at Left Hand Brewery. That's not good. It's not bad, but it's not good.
Except that.
It occupies a weird space. Would I recommend it? Nah. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm holding it in your face, but I don't recommend it. So let's get on with the list, shall we? Coming in at number 5, Dolores Claiborne. Oh, maybe you are groaning there. This is a great book. It's a wonderful book. It's a heartbreaking story of abuse and survival and vengeance. And it has all those things. And I just didn't like it. And it's because it's a King book. If it was any other author, you would I guess I just didn't expect this from King. With Gerald's Game, it's part of the Eclipse series. But it just does not live up to Gerald's Game. And it's like a family drama. I didn't dig it. So, I mean, really, that's... I'm just going to find other words to say that. I also hated the deckled edges. I wasn't a fan of deckled edges. I'm still not really a fan of deckled edges. Unless Suntop does them. And I remember when I first got this book, I thought, they didn't finish making the book. But I didn't hold that against the story. The story's fine. It's just not my cup of tea. And when you're looking for King, you're looking for a good strong brew of coffee, and then they serve you this tea. And you're like, it's fine for tea, but I want coffee. All right. Coming in at number 4. And this one really breaks my heart for a couple reasons. Dr. Sleep. This was the follow-up to The Shining. And it just was not worthy. Please give the main character a name other than Danny Torrance. Make his dad somebody other than Jack Torrance. This had nothing to do with The Shining, with the entities of the Overlook reaching out through time and distance to get a hold of Danny. There's nothing about this that was a sequel in any sense of the word. It was really just catching up with Danny. What's Danny doing? And the tie. The Shining holds such a special place for so many of us that to put a book in that universe, it needs to meet a higher standard than this, which I just, and you know what else breaks my heart? I think this is one of Cemetery Dance's finest productions. So to have such a beautiful edition of such a letdown book. And again, if this was any other King book with any other characters, I wouldn't put it in my bottom 5. But when you tell me this is following up The Shining, bam! No. Coming in at number 3, Wolves of the Kala. This is where the Dark Tower trip just goes off the rails. We begin to see that that tower not all well in End World or Mid World. Stephen King wrote the first 4, and then he got hit by that van, that horrible, horrible accident that almost ended Stephen King's life. And that traumatic experience kicked up a lot of echoes and reverberations in Wolves of the Kala as he continued the journey to the tower. And some developments in this book were just not good. I understand getting meta and understanding how fiction and reality kind of blur sometimes, and maybe there are other worlds than these. Applies to fictitious universes. I don't know. This was such. I loved Wizard and Glass. I loved the books kept getting better and better and better. I put Drawing of the Three in my top 10 because it really made. You could feel it getting epic. It's like, is it getting epic in here? Yeah, I think it's getting epic. And you could understand the magnitude of the tower and the journey and the quartet and all that. And the books were getting really deep and nuanced and just so good. And then it comes to this, and oh wow! After the wait and worrying if King was going to finish the 7-book series, and then this comes out. Again, context. Maybe this would have been a wild ride if it wasn't part of the journey to the tower, but it doesn't deserve it. It doesn't deserve its place in King's magnum opus. All right, coming in at number 2. Revival by Stephen King. Number 2 on the list of the worst Stephen Kings. So it makes sense that it's by Stephen King. Revival. Oh, this book, I'll tell you. I finished it, unlike the number 1 on this list, but barely. It was the ending was really great, but the book did not deserve the ending it got because the characters were so not developed, like underdeveloped. They were, put them back in the oven, King. They're not done. Or make it a novella. It would have been a dank novella if you just cut out a lot of, the book takes place over like 4 decades. It just, takes over a whole expansive time. And it just skips over the surface so that the characters really didn't feel alive or sympathetic. And you could have accomplished an even better, tighter story in a novella and still had that powerful packed punch of cosmic horror at the end. Brian James Freeman decided to make me regret my hate for the book by creating this absolutely gorgeous edition that is going to make me reread the book with the Francois Villancourt art. So I'm forced into reading it almost against my will, but it's worth another shot when it looks this beautiful. Yes, image over substance. And then coming in at number 1, my only DNF in the King universe. Rose Matter. And no one was madder than Jeff when he got to the end of Rose Matter. Well, almost the end. I think I made it. Look, that's where I left off. It's like right there. I just said, no, I'm done with this. And it's surprising. It really is. And maybe I do owe this book another read because it has all the good trademarks of a great Stephen King story. The abusive husband, he's unhinged. I think he bites someone to death. He's crazy. And the woman running from the oppression and then taps into the supernatural strength and the final confrontation at the end and all that stuff. And as it was getting there, I just walked away. I said, I just don't care. I don't want to know. I don't care enough to know how this thing ends. Surprises even me, but ever since I've shelved this book, I keep looking at it like, why do I even own it? Like, really mad about it. I don't know. Every book is a new relationship. You experience something different. You meet new people, and there's either chemistry there or it's not. And for me, it just was not there with this book. I wish I could tell you exactly where it misfired for me. I can only tell you what I walked away with. And that was frustration and anger. Almost as much as I had for Revival. Revival I actually was angrier about, but I at least finished that. So I put that at number 2 because I at least cared enough to know how does that story end. And the ending was really good in Revival. It's one of Stephen King's best endings. Really bleak and dark. Whereas this one just fizzled out. And I think apathy is the opposite of love, not hate. So that's why it comes in at number 1. That's my bottom 5, the top 5 worst bad books by Stephen King. You could share your opinion below. That's fine. It's still a free country for a moment. So you could do that. If you notice, there were a couple that weren't on this list. I think a lot of people hated Sleeping Beauties. I really liked it. A lot of people hated Tommyknockers. That was in my top 10. So what else? What other book? Sleeping Beauties, Tommyknockers. I don't remember what other books people were lukewarm or hated from Stephen King. But I don't know. Maybe I zig when everybody else zags. But I liked Sleeping Beauties. And it's not just because I have a beautiful signed edition. I have a beautiful edition of Dr. Sleep, and I don't like it. So anyway, I'm not going to part with any of these books, so I don't want to sell them. As weird as that is, I'm happy to have them in my collection because that's how a collector's brain is, I guess. But that's all I got for now. And yeah, I'll check you out. Check you out sometime. Maybe we'll get a beer. Happy Halloween and all. Stay frosty.